You think say you sabi Naija music? Old school or new school? Come show yourself for Gusto Gets the Song. You go win better. Call the number wey dey appear for your screen so. Naija music come win money.
Guys, welcome to Gusto Reactions. Once again, Big Lala is very much in the building. Yes, guys, please put your comment down below. Welcoming Big Lala back from that very lovely family vacation. Guys, Big Lala is, glad to be back right here on Gusto TV. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do for us. You asked for Big Lala and he's here right now. Of course, all that we need to ask right now is, Big Lala, what did you bring from the vacation that you went to do in Maldives? Yes, Maldives, and of course Cape Verde and Seychelles Island as well. 3 countries.
3 of them in 1 week, Abi. 3 of them in 1 week.
Possible now. Lagos today, London tomorrow.
What did I bring? Abi?
Yeah, what did you bring?
I bought Alafia.
The comment in this video. Anyways, we've got Wizkid in the building today. There's been a whole lot, about Wizkid this year. Billboard, Grammys, platinum record, US radio, everything. But of course, this man right here, Abamieda, Fela and Nicola Kuti. This guy will say, "Oh, I'm the young fella. I'm the young fella back," and all of that. It's been a whole lot. Of course, a lot of people have been talking about, oh, is Wizkid truly, the young fella with the kind of music and everything. Now, that's not even a discussion, for today. We know how Wizkid with Made in Lagos has done quite all right. 10, submissions, 10 considerations, in at the Grammys for Made in Lagos. That's really massive. And of course, the world albums, chart as well. Wizkid is actually at number 52 weeks, at the moment. Of course, at some point he got number 1. He's back at number 1, again. And for Made in Lagos, 52 weeks, number 1 right now, again, and that's a major record. Now, breaking Fela's, record. When Wizkid was at 46 weeks, he broke Fela's record of 45 weeks, won the Grammys. Now, a lot of fans will get to talk and will continue talking. Wizkid, 10 submissions, 10 considerations for the Grammys. Now, talking about Wizkid, Grammys, and Fela and Nicola Kuti. If Wizkid gets to, get some nominations, for the Grammys and gets to win, maybe not 1, maybe 2 or 3, categories of the Grammys, should we have the Fela comparisons again?
Well, is it
ever going to go away?
No, it's not going to go away, obviously, but there's always going to be the Fela comparison. Fela is what majority, I'll say majority people, let me not speak for majority. I'll say some strong sectors in the industry will feel, oh, Fela is the greatest or is the best that ever did it in terms of music in Nigeria, or will say, oh, because he's the creator of Afrobeat and every other thing that's come out of Afrobeat, as a lot of all these young games have referenced or have sampled or have used Fela as textbook in terms of, making music, getting his stuff, talking social, political, all these things that's going on. Burna, Wiz, you name it. A lot of these artists have looked up to Fela. They've modeled their kind of persona or their kind of music over Fela. Wiz at one point used to call himself Fela back.
Fela back. Even on Snapchat till now.
Snapchat today is still Fela back. Yeah. He has songs that have sampled Fela. Not just him, a lot of the industry. That's one of the reasons why people like Seun Kuti will come and be like, stop disrespecting my papa, until the day people stop stealing from his work or his past work before you can now say, oh, you want to be comparing yourself to him. Nobody, that's what you keep on saying.
But is it right?
I don't particularly think it's right, but it's just the times are different. There are different eras, right? The times Fela ruled, he was a huge artist. He was huge as they come. As people will have said time and time and again, was he equally as appreciated in his home country than he was outside of the country to his other millions of fans out there. That's what people would say. People would say, oh, not a lot of people would listen to Fela. The last time we had this sort of discussion, there was actually a long thread of comments on that video, and one of the viewers rightly said, oh, it was cowardly of us not to say, oh, it can't be compared. But I think that was a misunderstanding back then. Nobody's saying it can't be compared. I mean, there will always be the comparison of Wiz and Fela. Not just Wiz and Fela. People will come in the future and be like, oh, Burna and Fela. People will always be there. And I think it's a huge compliment that right now people are comparing Fela to Wiz. It means Wiz is being seen in that light as someone who is, in his era, the biggest to ever do it, right? And like I said the last time, I don't think it should now be down to a Grammy, for example, or the week spent on a particular chart to now determine if Wiz is now bigger than Fela. Because whether we like it or not, if, for example, a CK or any new artist decides to drop an album next year, right, and spends over 52 weeks on this particular chart, and let's not forget that it's a new artist, right? So we will now say because that new artist has spent over 52 weeks, but has only spent how many years in the industry, is now greater than someone. So like I said, it's for me, it's a comparison that you can't, that even if you compare, you can't say for a fact that yes, this is greater than this, because they are two different eras, two different artists, style of music different, right? Fela was at the time, he was, like I said, he was a radical. His music didn't only speak to power. It was always social political. It was different. It was totally different from what we have right now. And I feel every time we try to bring up this discussion of, oh, Wiz is the greatest to ever do it, it can't be. It can't be because they do two different types of music. They're not the same. It's like comparing, we know it's music and it's musical, but at least they're genres. It's the same way they are sports. You can't have the greatest ever sportsman, right? People now say, oh, the greatest ever footballer, the greatest ever basketballer. And when you now start doing sportsman, it gets a bit more complicated. I know these guys are both musicians, but their genre of music is totally different. We know that Afrobeats takes bits and pieces from Afrobeats and other genres of music, right? And Wizkid. It is what it is right now with Wiz. Wiz had been at the forefront of that for many, many years. So if people come and say, oh, it's the best to ever do it of this era, yes, everybody will agree to it. If you say, oh, is Fela the best to ever do it of his era, but is he really the best to do it of his era? Is it great? But people enjoyed other genres of music back then too. King Sunny Ade was also a huge artist. He was not an Afrobeat artist. He was Ebenezer. People had their favorites, the kind of music that they would enjoy and they would sing. You get? So it's a bit different. It's a bit difficult for me to put them together and be like, oh, I have to choose between a Wiz and a Fela. Like, to your question, because I don't divert. Will the comparisons ever go away? No, they will never go away. It will always keep on coming up.
Should it come back if Wizkid gets, some, nominations for the Grammys and maybe possibly some wins?
It doesn't even need. It doesn't even need to win the Grammy for it. It's the comparison is there right now. Like, the conversation is just not full scale, but it's there. People are already saying it. Like, Wiz fans will be like, "Oh, Wiz is the best to ever do it out of Nigeria." But because the kind of impact Wiz is having is, in a few years or maybe in a decade or so, we look back and be like, "Oh, this is the kind of impact that Fela music is making on Afrobeats," right? Wiz is making that impact already on the younger generations. A lot of young singers are already modeling themselves after a Wiz, singing like Wiz, making songs like Wiz. Even while he was young, people, let me mention a name. For example, Dami Crane, while he was coming up, was still modeling himself like a Wiz, some other guy, Flow something. A lot of them were modeling because Wiz was a new thing and people were modeling themselves. Till date, people are modeling themselves. So it's because of that kind of impact that he's having on the newer generation is what's making people come up with that discussion. Me, I'm not up for that discussion because I find it difficult to actually place them side by side because they represent two different eras. Fela's era, yes, he was a great in that era and he influenced a lot of people from that era. I mean, from this era, the way they make their music. Even our top artists, at this very moment, from the top 3, top 5, Burna, Wiz, you name it, you mention them, right? They model themselves, right, off some Fela music. They also make songs and sample of Fela music, right? Wiz is having that impact right now. And you can argue and say, yes, so okay, he's a great. Of course, Wiz is a great right now. Nobody's going to take that away from him. But I find it difficult to just place them side by side and be like, oh, this person is the greatest to ever do it. Or this person. I believe greatest to ever do it of this era, of this Afrobeats era, Wiz, you can put him in that conversation for the Afrobeat era or the previous era, because after that Fela era, there was actually another era, the early 90s, the late 90s to the early 2000s, right? That's another era. That was the era of sampling a lot. Nigerians consumed a lot of sampled music from abroad. Every top artist you had back then was doing a rendition of
I got chose.
You get, not just them, was doing a rendition of all those things. So that was totally another era before this Afrobeats era. So I don't think we should, me personally, I think we should not even have that discussion and be like, oh, this one is greater than this. I think we just leave it at eras.
But if the Grammys come for Wizkid, these guys, we are going to have the discussion all over again.
Is he now the greatest Nigerian musician to ever do it?
Is it bigger than Fela? Is it better than Fela? Is it the greatest, more greater than Fela or something? It's going to come again.
It's going to come. Maybe by then, I will not be able to give you an answer. But for me, right now, I'm not able to put them together.
But if it comes at that time, if those comparisons come at that time, people start saying, oh, because Wizkid has gotten, let's say, 1 or 2 Grammys and everything, alongside what they won in, 2021, early this year, would you say it's justified for them to start comparing once again, this man and this man?
Yeah, but did Fela win a Grammy?
No.
Exactly. So why should he take a Grammy, win a Grammy, as should now be the yardstick to saying, oh, he's greater than Fela?
What's going to be the yardstick?
Like I said, I think
can't compare them.
The similarities are there in terms of impact, and I think that's the most important thing. This guy is the SI unit for Afrobeat music. For Afrobeat music, this guy right now seems like he's the one people look up to a lot. This was pretty evident at the Headies Awards, pretty evident in a lot of songs that come out. Even till today, people, you listen to songs and people are like, why is it sounding like Wizkid? And that didn't just start today. That started early on in his career. But he's been able to be that kind of person for over a decade, and his impact is well felt.
Definitely.
And that's why that's more reason why people would come up and compare him to Fela, which I believe is a huge compliment. To now end it all, I think if you ask Wiz himself, if he is the greatest, you know what he will say?
Yeah.
He's going to mention this guy.
Definitely. He won't kill himself.
Because there are two different eras. And I saw an interview one time, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, they were on a talk show. And the anchor was like, okay, he wants to ask Muhammad Ali a question. In Muhammad Ali's prime and in Mike Tyson's prime, who does he think would beat who? But it's difficult to place. But these are two huge fighters. And Muhammad Ali said that Mike Tyson is a powerful fighter. He punches well low. But he is the speedster, is the dancer. That if he should catch him once with a punch, that he's going to knock him out. That he's going to, he believes Mike Tyson can knock him out, right? And that's if he can catch him. He was being modest. Then Mike Tyson said what? He said, nah, me, I'm vain. I know I'm great. I know I'm a great person. Mike Tyson in this conversation is Wizkid. He says, I know I'm a great person, but forget. This person, Muhammad Ali, is the greatest of all time to ever do it.
Definitely.
They can both be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Why must you look for one person that is the best to ever do it?
Exactly. Guys, let's have your thoughts on, that one, Wizkid, Fela, the Grammy win. What exactly, are these comparisons about? If, Wizkid, Starboy, Big Wiz himself gets to win 1, 2, maybe a couple of Grammys, in January, what exactly, would it justify the comparisons? Once again, are people going to come through and say, oh yeah, he's better than Fela, bigger than Fela, and everything? Should those kind of conversations even hold at all? Maybe, maybe not. Put your comment down below. See you guys on the next one. Please keep liking and sharing, subscribing. Yes, please. God bless you. Have a great time. Peace.